Hi, it's Steve, and I am here with Annie Parchert. Hi, Annie.
Hi, how are you, Steve?
I'm doing really well today, and
Good.
my day is made a little bit better because you're here and we can talk. So thank you for joining me.
Oh,
Okay,
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
it's my pleasure. Let's start this way. I've asked you to be interviewed and join our gallery of freedom fighters, so I'm calling you a freedom fighter. And I'm wondering, to what extent do you consider yourself a freedom fighter? Are you?
I am. I
Tell me.
am. I am. I was enlisted in the Army and I worked for the Army for 25 years, studying policies and implementing new procedures. And I was a leadership trainer for first-time supervisors for many years. So when I retired about 4 years ago, and I was glad to be gone from all of that, but I still had I still had a lot of energy left. And I was listening to Steve Bannon telling me action, 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 get up and do something. And so I started meeting with a group of my friends. And well, I was hanging out with my regular friends, and I was reading and studying current issues, and they were telling me, shut up about politics. But I'm like, this is not about, I'm talking about, general medical information that's out there and things like that. How is that politics? But everything you would say that shook them and made them a little nervous about a topic, they would say that just shut up about politics. And so my friends and I were all experiencing this, and we started having these little meetings. First, there were 5 people there, then six, then 20. And we decided that, well, we're going to we should get involved in the local GOP. And when we went down there, we learned it was a closed club and we're not in it. They were not looking for new people with fresh ideas. And they even told me that if you're so darn smart, then you should just go do it yourself. And so our friend said, okay, it can't be that hard. So we took the bylaws and their rules and we started the Illinois Freedom Alliance as a political action committee. And we learned that it is hard. I learned that what the GOP chairmen have to do is hard. It's hard to get people to volunteer. It's hard to get people to show up for committees. It's hard, but it's doable. And we we started our group, and we started learning about different issues, and we started developing training courses about it, and we started meeting on a very regular basis and it grew and grew and grew to we were meeting daily. Now I just looked at the timesheets. We keep timesheets even though we're not getting paid, but it's to understand how much time this is. But here at the Illinois Freedom Alliance, there's around 400 to 500 hours of work that gets put in every week from the regulars. That's not counting the people out in the field doing other things. But we were blessed with a Republican who had a wonderful office that was empty, and he said, we went and talked to him about, we were looking for office space, but we knew we couldn't afford it. And I said, well, let's go look at it anyway to see what we can't afford so we can find out. That's going to narrow down the field. We'll start looking for what we can afford. And so I started talking to him about all the issues and things that we were doing. And I talked for like 10 minutes, and he says, oh, whoa, whoa, Annie, stop. He says, I'm going to give you the office space. Okay, so you can stop trying to sell me on it. But I want to know, what else are you going to do when you have this office? And by within an hour or so, we had keys to a 2,500 square foot office. And it has, we have like nine offices, I think, and a conference room and a training room big enough for 50 or 60 people. And plus, there's a big parking lot in the back that we've been able to hold large rallies in. And all the people we've met along the way were so enthusiastic about it that by the next day, almost all of the offices were full of furniture.
Hmm.
We had printers donated. We had a big television. We had a overhead projector. People just kept bringing things because, you know, God works in mysterious ways, and the word got out, and we were blessed. And then now we have this obligation to make sure that we fully utilize our blessings, and that we continually strive to make sure there's somebody in every chair, and that they're working on subjects matter is areas of interest to themselves and where their skills are. So if a volunteer comes to us and says, well, I don't know what I can do, I just sit down and talk to them about what have you done. And when people call our office, we ask them, what are your passions? What do you struggle with in the current world that a problem you'd like to help solve? And as soon as they start talking, um, we know which committee to connect them with. It's magic. And once people are involved, they they start working on solutions rather than constantly reciting the problems. And it's just, and you watch them just blossom, and they're happier. And there are days at IFA where there's not enough desks to go around, but there are days when it's pretty empty too, right? But the projects, people take projects home with them, and we're connected now on a national basis with Cleta Mitchell's election integrity group. And then we have, I was surprised to hear from the Steve Bannon show one day. My friend Dan Schultz, who had been coaching me on how am I going to become a precinct committeeman, when when they see me come, and they kind of just shut the door and hold it, like everybody gets in front of it, like, no, don't let her in. And I went on the Steve Bannon show, and by the time those 6 minutes were up, the phones in the office were just ringing and ringing. And we called every single person back. We found out where their interests were, where their passions were. And then we connected them with grassroots groups in their county that were already established. We talked to them about how to become more involved in the GOP. And we talked to them about our experience was that, and Dan Schultz had warned me, don't go in there like a bull in a china shop. Go in there quietly. Go in there and do more listening than talking, and you'll get accepted gradually. And that has worked. And when we went and we took one of the first projects I got from the GOP was to clean up their precinct committeeman list, and they said they had like 70 precinct committeemen, but when we scrubbed that list, there was more like 35, because some had been dead for a while. Some were the wives of county board members, didn't even know they were precinct committeemen. Yeah, and we learned that this happens all over the state. Well, I keep working with the GOP chairman, and I keep trying to referring people to them. So we're moving along. They start gradually accepting our PCs, and they find out they're pretty good. And so now here it is. We'll be 2 years old in October of this year. So when people get into this, get ready, because things move fast. And if you stay on task and you keep following up on all the different opportunities that God puts in your path, you are going to be amazed at how fast you grow. Because just last weekend, I was actually, I would say it was a keynote speaker at, I filled in for Dan Schultz at a PC training for a GOP picnic. And he had to cancel at the last minute, so I stepped in for him. So all of a sudden, here is Annette Parchert, the chairwoman of the Illinois Freedom Alliance, who couldn't get in the door at the GOP a year and a half ago. I'm a keynote speaker at a GOP picnic. and people were excited, and I was able to teach them how to become precinct committeemen. And there were GOP chairmen there who didn't understand, who were telling PCs, well, you have to get elected. You can't get elected until the next call us after the primary. we can't really do anything. But I'm like, well, no, you need to appoint them now. And I, I explained the weighted vote process and everything to them, and people were like, wow, you know, I want to do this. So when, you know, yeah, you know, you go into something like a bull in a china shop and don't take time to stop and get to know the people involved and things like that, you're gonna, you know, it slowed me down for a little bit. But I think people understand now that really I'm a kind and friendly person. I just have ambitions. I just, I have these visions of things that need to be done, and I try not to let anything get in my way. And I try not to do everything myself. I try to make sure that this group of people that want to get involved, that they have something to do, something meaningful. I like to have projects that have a start date, a stop date, so that's accomplishment. Start, stop, accomplishment, because that's what inspires people. So it's a very exciting journey. Um, and in fact, in Illinois, where I live, there are there's a big disconnect between the GOP and the members of the grassroots groups. And when you think about it, the GOP has a much smaller membership than the grassroots groups do. By that I mean that you are not truly a member of the GOP. You may be a Republican, but you are not a member, a voting member of the GOP, unless you become a precinct committeeman. Okay, so um, we trying to make sure everybody understands that and becomes a voice in Illinois. The problem is that the leadership, the executive board, um, isn't communicating well with the GOP groups, and it's almost reverse of what I was doing, because they're just coming back at they're coming at the GOP group like, no, this is the right way to do things. I'm sorry what you think. We're going to do it our way. Thank you very much. You know, but they're misguided because they're not hearing the majority of the people. With who they're hearing is their echo chamber of the small group of people that have been in those positions for, people have been a PC for 10 or 20 years and never knocked on a door, right? Or joined a committee. So it's really important. And now I have, it's, trust is earned. And now I am actually scheduling what I'm calling bridging the gap town halls with the leadership of the grassroots groups and the chairman of the GOP in Illinois. So he is actually coming to our headquarters in a few weeks, and he is going to sit down with the leaders of the grassroots groups in this district. We are meeting between now and then several times, and what I believe is the biggest challenge that GOP has is convincing people that that being a precinct committeeman is a rewarding experience, because quite frankly, they have made it be quite difficult, and they and we know an easier going way to go about it. So when we meet with them the first time, we are actually going to be presenting to them a strategic plan for recruiting precinct committeemen, including digital advertising, commercials, emails, text messaging strategies, because this problem can be solved quickly. It will not be solved um, if if it's a shouting match at open town halls where people um, are there to bring complaints to the GOP chairman that should have been settled at the county level in their own GOP committees. You've got to start there. You need to solve the problems there and let the information flow upwards. Right now, the strategy is to go after the leader of the group with problems that can't be solved at that level. They get solved in a very hostile way, not intending, I'm not saying they're intending to be this way, but they're frustrated. And they're like, well, all you guys are telling me I got to do this and I got to do that. And what are you doing? And it goes back to, well, we've got this. It goes back and forth. There's a shouting match. Literally, police have been called because they were trying that process. So now we're going to go at it in a much more efficient manner. And we're going to be doing that in this county. We're going to be we're doing it by congressional district. This district is for us to present a strategic plan to fill those vacant PC positions in Illinois. And then the next one is going to be, we have a solution for poll watching. The Illinois Freedom Alliance has a system, it's called a poll watcher emergency response system. It's built by another freedom fighter named Jesse Berger. He's from North Carolina. Um, he's a veteran, and he built this software that allows a poll watcher to go into a polling place, and when they see something, they say something in their phone, and then they go right back to work. That incident report is converted to text, and it goes to the county war room, where we have trained people in that county war room who will work that incident report. They are the ones that call the county clerk. They're the ones that call the state's attorney or the sheriff. We don't want poll watchers to be distracted, because while if they have to stop and call a county clerk, they're going to be in line because everybody's calling the county clerk and nothing's getting resolved. So with our way of triaging the incident reports, we may call the county clerk because there's one certain type of incident that's happening across the county. So we can call and tell her or him that this incident is occurring across the area. Can you get the word out to them that this, what the solution is? That you have to do signature verification. You need to have a Republican and a Democrat there. Whatever the problem is, we triage it and we go forward with it. The poll watcher continues watching the polls and is finding other things that are disturbing or confusing. They may even just have a simple question, and they get a quick, fast response back through this app, through a text message. So they get immediate guidance and things. And then the system also will create an affidavit. So when the election day is over, or election weeks in Illinois, it could be, but we within a day or so, we've got affidavits out to actually take to the state's attorney as a real case, and we get results. In one county, from this last election, because they took 55 actual affidavits showing 55 different problems that occurred in that county, the state's attorney called an open forum meeting, which she had never done, inviting citizens to come in, and she basically apologized. And she said that their training for their election judges was not good enough, and that they're going to improve that. And they're also going to be changing their written guidance on how they're going from a little pamphlet on how to poll watch to an actual booklet. And then on top of that, the system, we call it POWER, Poll Watcher Emergency Response System. It also has election law on the app. So people, if a poll watcher sees something, they can actually walk up to a judge and show them the election law and solve it without even having to file an incident report. So in the past, incident reports end up in closets in GOP offices. I've seen them. There'll be a box or a file folder with incident reports, and nothing has happened to them. And that's why the problem continues to grow and continues to get worse in our polling places. So as what we're doing as we work on this, bridging the gap between the grassroots groups and the GOP, is we're offering solutions to problems that are with longevity. Now, we've tried to present this system to the GOP, and we have not been able to do it. They haven't been interested in moving away from spreadsheets. Okay. The tool also has a scheduling tool, so that poll watchers can right now start scheduling themselves, so that we aren't looking a month out from the incident or the voting period for poll watchers. We're going to know, we know now where our vacancies are, and we can start telling people, hey, you guys, out of all your polling places, you are only 2% staffed. And then we can help them by going, then they'll later on, we can tell them, hey, guess what? You're 4%. And we'll get to the point where we're 100%, because people understand that if no one's watching the polls, A lot of things can go wrong. And, there's a lot of things wrong with our elections. And so we have to break it down piece by piece. We have a solution for poll watchers. We need it enacted. Okay. A lot of times what I'm learning is that when you have a solution to a problem, the very people who fundraise on solving that problem, saying that, oh, send us some money and we're going to train poll watchers and we're going to help them and all of this. They don't want a solution to the problem, because then guess what? They can't fundraise. The fundraising stops when you've got a solution to the problem. And as it sounds really kind of crooked, but it's how it is. People get their head wrapped around the problem and really don't know how to have that stop date when that problem's going to be solved by now. And we should have this problem solved in 30 days. Okay. If not, if there's a roadblock in the way, then we got to solve that, because we've got 30 days. We're solving this problem. We're not going to kick this can down the road. So one of the things we'll be presenting to our GOP executive board at one of these town halls, I'm calling Bridging the Gap, will be to use the system, or tell us why not. Right? So that's how the freedom fighters in Illinois are doing things, and we're inspired by freedom fighters that you've talked to already: Steve Stern, Dan Schultz. Those people have inspired people all over the nation, and what they have done to inspire people in Illinois is incredible. Because of them, we have built this platform that bridges, we serve as a hub for the grassroots groups in Illinois. Not everybody can have a website, but hey, we can put your stuff on our website. And not everybody can some people can't make the little booklets you need when you're going to have an event. We can help you with that. We have a high-speed printer. We can print those for you, but not everybody can do that. So we're just trying to help the different grassroots with the training that they need, and anything that we can do to help them, so that people aren't out there. A lot of time, what I've seen a lot is some of the grassroots groups are duplicating efforts, where one group for example, there's a group that's really close to getting machines out of their county. That's led by, there's a group called We the People, led by Bruce Johnson. I'm going to refer him to you. Just a really solid group of Christian-based action on solving problems, and they're working real hard at getting rid of the machines in their county. Well, other groups are talking about it, but but Bruce has best practices now. So we will be working with Bruce to do town halls to show, hey, this is what worked and this is what hasn't, so that other groups can pick up this best practice process and roll it out in their county, and they won't make the same mistakes we all make as we get started. So it's just a beautiful thing to watch it all get connected. And somebody else was we have people that are really good at making training videos and things like that. So those people are available to help other groups. Text messaging. A lot of people have gun raffles. A lot of people have lots of interesting ways to raise funds, but we decided to utilize our skills as our fundraising. And so we've developed we've worked with some developers of a really great political text messaging platform, which actually gives us a little bit of a profit. At the same time, the candidates get to stretch their budgets further because we don't have to charge the commercial rates. So the idea is, we call it campaign in a box. So if the candidate calls us, we can give them a good idea on how many palm cards and things to buy, so they don't end up with 10 extra boxes after the campaign's over, because they got with an agency that's just trying to make profit. They're saying, oh, you need 50,000 palm cards, and we were like going, you need 500. So and text messaging as well. So it's being creative about your fundraising is important, and making sure that when God has somebody knock on your door, that you make sure that you can get them excited about using the skills that they've been using or that they're most interested in. I mean, we have
This,
people who make
you raise a very
quilt.
interesting point. Let me ask you about that. You're describing an incredible spiritual journey. How does somebody know when God is knocking at their door?
Do you see that ball, that board behind me?
Hmm.
I we write things down on there or kind of a prayer list. I mean, there there was a time when I wrote down that I need somebody that can help me with the website, and then um, a little bit later, almost the same day, somebody walked in here and said, "Hey, can I help you with? I would like to help you with your website. I kind of took a look at it, and I think I could fix that." There's 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 God whispers. I don't know how to tell you. I don't know. Everybody knows when you know when you feel like something is um when you're spiritually inclined or you have more. I just have energy for things that before when I was retired, I was like really enjoying being like really laid back, maybe a couple drinks in the afternoon, float in the pool and all of that. But when you get inspired to do something, that energy level just goes off the roof. It's just amazing, and you feel good about it. Now, one thing I have struggled with is that for some reason things are around my household, my family, things seem to have been falling apart over the last year or so while I've been involved in this, and I'm like, I don't understand how my whole family could just fall apart. And this past weekend, I crossed paths with some people in the past, but I spoke at this groups about you know inspiring them to become active, and afterwards they wanted to pray over me, and they were telling they were praying, and they told me that because this is a battle of good and evil, and that I'm coming up against some evil people, and that Satan will go after your firstborn to distract you from your path forward. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because this has been happening. I I mean, it's just been happening. Like, I have had so many challenges in my personal life since I started this journey. But guess what? I'm praying hard now that those evils, they got to stay away from me. I don't have time for them. I'm praying over my kids in a different manner. But they, this, I don't know. When you talk to other people, let me know what you think. But I have been experiencing this myself, and I'm not stopping. I am literally putting the armor of God on my head, on my shoulders, on my feet. I am not going to stop, and I'm able to talk to my children about how they need to be alert for distractions as well, because I need them to be strong so that I don't have to stop what I'm doing. Because if we don't do, if we just sit back and watch, we're going to lose America. It's a very real thing that our country is going to be gone. If you think someone else is out there doing it while you're sitting back, I'm first to tell you that I thought everything was going on at the GOP office. I totally expected that it was a robust office full of people recruiting candidates and solving problems and all of this. And all of us, we've been going to work, we've been raising our family, we've been taking our kids to other sports and spending time with our grandchildren, and we think someone else is taking care of this for us, but they're not. There's no one coming to save us. You know, I, God wants us to get up and fight. We can't just let this battle be won by some dark side, and it will be, because we, if we just sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor, especially in our retirement years. How I thought when I retired it would be such a chill, spend lots of time with grandkids and all that. But if I don't, if I were to just sit back and do all of that, what are they going to have left? There's not going to be any world left for them. We already know what's going on in the schools. And I mean, I met a young man that just up in this weekend that was in college, just graduated from a 2-year college, and he was showing us pictures of the fur people, the furries that are in the school. There's this huge LGBTQRSZ, whatever it is, and unbelievably, he told us that those groups get sanctioned by the college, which means they get some funding from the college. He's part of Turning Point USA. I asked him, how many Republicans do you have in your group? He said there are 4 people that I can talk to openly in the whole school, and the school will not sanction them. Will not. They get 0 funding. They don't get to have events on campus. The other groups get to have events on campus. That made me cry, because when my time in college was joyful. I had fun. I learned. But it's not that way for our kids anymore. And our college age kids, what's it going to be like for our grade school or my grandchildren? They're 5 and 6 years old, and I don't know what's going to happen for them unless you keep getting people to talk about their experiences, and people get, and let us inspire others to get involved, because it's not a time to sit back and enjoy your golden years. It's not. Our kids still have to work. They still have to be raising their kids, and they're really, 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 really busy. And as much, we love to have more young people, but the truth is that the elders have to be involved. We do. We have to be involved.
I agree. Our generation needs to lead the way. So with that in mind, let me ask you one last question. You're thinking generations ahead to your children and your grandchildren and their children. What is your legacy? How do you want to be remembered?
Well, right now, I would say that my children will remember me as my mom who won't shut up, or or my children do not like what I'm doing. They have been indoctrinated, and it's been very hard. And I imagine a lot of people can identify this, but my daughter, I didn't get to see her for or my grandchildren for almost 2 years, because I refused to get a vaccination, and she was afraid for the life of her children. Okay, that's how, yeah. And yeah, it's hard. So I don't know. I haven't thought about that. I'm just in today, and I just um, to keep doing what I'm doing and have the energy to do it. And I want the evil forces to stay away from my family. And I want people to get involved and feel inspired. It's a whole lot better feeling than feeling despair. It's a whole lot better than get involved, and then get your friends to get involved. Being a precinct committeeman is, and Dan Schultz, precinctstrategy.com is a great place to go. Our website, IllinoisFreedomAlliance.us, has a place to go where you can go on there and you can ask to become a precinct committeeman. And this bull in a china shop will tiptoe around, but I'll help you. I've got relationships with chairmen around our state now, and we'll help you. So, but if you choose, you can even start a grassroots group in your own county. But if you're looking for a grassroots group to join, they're not too hard to find. Because we're all really good at being digital soldiers as far as promoting ourselves on the various social media platforms. In Illinois, we definitely have, Illinois Freedom Alliance can definitely put you in touch with somebody in almost any county to, because we have small groups and grassroots groups in at least 3/4 of the counties in Illinois. I was just thinking today, I go, somebody needs to go look, because whichever one, whatever that, what last 25% is, we gotta reach out to those people too, right? So that's, that's I don't know what the legacy would be, but just that I didn't sit down. I didn't just, one of the things one of my sons told me was that it's you baby boomers who did this and who destroyed our country. And if taking care of our children, going about our day-to-day life, working hard, providing for our family, while meanwhile there were people doing things that we didn't know they were doing. If that's the case, I have to honestly say that I believe that's the case in my world, that I was really busy raising them, so I wasn't paying attention. So I have to say that there's part truth to that. The baby boomers, um, we were living a good life, and now it's time for us to come back around and um, try to fix those things that kind of just slipped in, that people slipped in while we were doing what we're trying to do, raising healthy families.
We were doing our job as parents. I get that. And I'll tell you something. I'm not a mystic, and I don't pretend to have a grasp of all the good and evil forces in the world. But I've learned this. I've learned that the dark forces thrive when people are desperate and fearful, and they diminish when we're hopeful and when we persevere. So if there's anything I learned from you today, Annie, is that perseverance, in spite of all the personal stuff and in spite of the hardship professionally, perseverance pays. And I'm inspired because there's no way the bad people and there's no way the bad guys can prevail if we take the fight to them. So
That's right.
thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well,
Uh,
thank you for the opportunity.
it was wonderful. Stay strong.
Okay, thank you.